Thank you for tuning into the Walk in Truth Radio Network. Stay tuned for an encouraging word from Pastor, Teacher Dr. James Sutton. Let's see what Pastor Sutton has to say to us today.
Hello, this is Pastor Jay, and I've been missing for a while, but I want to encourage you today. And I'm going to be a little long today. Let's talk a little bit. What's really the problem out here, you guys? Can someone tell me? Can someone put in the comment? What do you think the problem really is with society? Maybe there's not enough money. Maybe the fact that there's not enough money to go around to everybody just because they're living. Maybe that's the problem. Well, we tried that. Billions of dollars, if you just pay attention and stop looking at those and reading those sensational podcasts and bloggers who sit and do nothing but talk about sex and power and more sex and beefing. I digress. But maybe there's not enough money. Maybe you should get a check just because you're here. You're entitled to be a billionaire just because you're here. You don't create anything, you don't do anything, but you deserve it. And the government should give it to you. Now let's say we go with that. Maybe that's the problem. Everybody should become welfare recipients. No matter what they do, no matter what they contribute, no matter how much they create things, they should become welfare recipients. And how we should get this is those who are gifted, talented, and willing to put their money, their time, and effort into something and make it large or be successful at it, maybe become a millionaire. Their job, their responsibility is to distribute their wealth to all those who are mediocre, mundane, and are just walking around. Maybe we could supply them with money like a news clip in Oregon, which I'm sure some of you have already seen, that the lady said it's great to be homeless in Oregon because you get a check every day. And the check I use to feed myself, I feed myself, and then the rest, they give me enough money where I go get my drugs, and then I go get a meal at a restaurant, and I go get some more drugs, and it's great. And I'm living in a nice tent city where all the amenities that, minimum amenities can be provided, and I don't have to do anything but be. Maybe that's the problem. Please comment. That's the first one. Maybe the problem with American society is there's too much emphasis on sex and sexual orientation and gender orientation. Maybe we're spending too much time trying to define ourselves and pigeonhole ourselves and get somebody to recognize ourselves, that we've actually spread ourselves so thin with so many different names and labels that even the distinctive labels don't even mean anything anymore. It's like coffee. Once you begin to put different things in coffee, you begin to dilute it to your taste. But your taste is not everybody else's taste. I'm not saying for or against making these decisions, but don't you think that we spend a lot of time trying to figure out what to call each other, how we should be with each other? Am I male or female? Am I LBGTQ and all of the other things that we've created? And the reason why I think, and I could be wrong, somebody correct me, these people who are participating in that community want an identity. But even amongst them, just like we know, men prefer darkness rather than light because their deeds evil. They infight amongst themselves, just like the African American community fight amongst itself. They can't decide on what the real agenda is. Maybe we're just oversexed. Maybe we put too much emphasis on identifying who we are, and then that folds into the woke movement. And I've listened to many different people talk about it, and really nobody can really define it because it moves like a floating goalpost, depending on where you are and who you are. And if you don't agree with it, then you are a racist. You are a person who hates. But when did disagreement become a hatred thing? So I thought woke was a black thing at first, but now woke has become for the blacks who don't agree with it. Then they're considered racist Uncle Toms. They call them all kind of names. And they feel because you're not woke, they get to ban you and what they call it, cancel you. What kind of society? Now think about this. You're fighting to be seen, but you're willing to cancel somebody else. I want that to sink in. You're fighting to be seen, to be noticed, to be recognized, to be unique and distinct. And you have the audacity to want to cancel somebody else, all because they don't identify as you identify and they don't affirm as you affirm. You have the right to affirm yourself to anything that you want, but you can't put that affirmation that I have to participate in society. I have to affirm you. In society, there's always been a dominant a part of society. There's hierarchy in the African American community, believe it or not. We call it, there's a show, the have and the have nots. Just be honest with yourself. There's been these hierarchies, financial hierarchies, social hierarchies, sexual hierarchies, color hierarchies, financial hierarchies. Always when you deal with people, you're going to have that. There's not a utopian. You can't label yourself, legislate yourself into a position that only God can with love. Love will allow me to be me and allow you to be you. And if we could have a common ground in Christ, then we can do so. We're back to saying stuff that we should be over by now. Can we agree to disagree? Well, that used to be the saying, but now it's like, if you don't agree with me and I feel threatened by the majority, then I should deserve a special privilege to what? So I can cancel you? Are we oversexed? And that's what I mean. We're focusing on the wrong thing. But maybe that's not the problem. Maybe the problem is abortion. Maybe we shouldn't look at it as destroying lives. There's a new word that comes out, and I'm going to be rambling. They're using the word delete. They've changed the word now from abortion to deleting life or deleting pregnancy. Delete. Push a button, hit OK, and poof, it's gone. Now, let me get this straight. If you're fortunate enough to get here, you can decide how you want to live. But since you're not in a position in the womb to decide how you want to live, the person who's carrying you, the woman, well, hold on, is that right? Woman? The person who's carrying you, I can't figure it out. The person who's carrying you can decide to terminate you, delete you through many different means and methods, which are legal and healthy as far as the FDA is concerned. And if you think about this, just logically, and I'm going to use real easy math, if it took 100 people to run Factory X, and through natural time, it whittles down to 75 through natural death, through natural means. The person comes, people retire, all that kind of stuff. And I want you to multiply this out into daily life, 100 people. So on average, we have 75 people running where it would be optimum. It takes 100, but at 75, it's running the way it's supposed to. But then we decide that to delete another 50 for whatever reason, legally delete other 50. Now to run what it took 100 or what was normally ran at 75 is now been reduced down to 25. And now those 25 decide we're going to delete another 10 in time. So now we're down to what, 15? But it takes 100. Now, if you multiply that over time, do we have enough people to make enough money to pay for the people who believe or they are entitled? Or is the point to get rid of enough people so as these people get older, who made the money, who sacrificed, who have the big business, who are billionaires, millionaires, thousandaires, is it their job to take care of the few that's left? But what about the few that's left when they get old? How are they going to take care of the next split? There's not enough of them. Now, remember, to run this, whatever you want to call it, country, factory, army, um, intellectual achievements, R&D department, whatever you want to, you just label it, hospital, whatever. It takes, remember, it was designed for 100, but normal 75. We're down to 10 to 15. How's that going to work in the long run? How's it going to work in the long run when there's a section of people who disproportionately delete their pregnancies over another section of people? Do they call that genocide? Or that's too hard of a word because nobody wants to accept that. Maybe we're worried about health too much. Maybe that's it. Maybe what's wrong is we're trying to preserve what God, through our natural selection, through our ignorance, arrogance, and abuse of the planet, the death rate is going down. I mean, the death rate is going up. The mortality rate of Americans are going up. The number one killer of our children is now guns and drugs. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe the American appetite is such that we are so lasciviousness. We're so much into debauchery. We're so much into addiction that we're killing ourselves just through our own desires and wants and lusts. And we're trying to stop it. We're trying to preserve it. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe the problem is make all drugs legal and let it take its natural course. Maybe you should just legalize every drug and let people do what they do. Let them be free. Let them call themselves who they want to. Let them live off the welfare system. Let them do the drugs they want to use. And those who don't. But this is what I would say. Those who don't should not have to fund those who do. So they have to do something. Whatever they want to do is fine. If they want to do cocaine, fine. If they want to do heroin, fine. If they want to do all these things, fine. And if that's what you believe the answer is more freedom to do those type of things, then you have to balance it out with those who don't want to do it should not be responsible for taking care of you. Figure out a way to take care of yourself. Sell drugs to each other, whatever you want to do to each other. But it is not the society's job who doesn't to take care of the society's job who does. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe the problem is, what would be the next one I would think about? What about you? What would you say? Maybe the problem is there's not enough God in America because America's a godly country. Well, I wouldn't say that. In the name of God, in the name of Jesus, in the name of Allah, in the name of Buddha, in the name of a lot of different religions, mankind has killed a whole bunch of people. Too many to count in the name of some religion, some God who says that this party over here, because they believe they're serving God, has the right to destroy the other party over there because they're not serving the same God, whichever one you pick. And there's even infighting amongst the Abrahamic religions. There are sects of Muslims fighting other sects of Muslims. Just like within the denominational situation with Christians, there's different sects of Christians actually fighting other Christians. Willing to die for what they believe that their sect is right. I mean, can't you see the problem is man itself? I mean, it's man itself. Man is greedy. Man is overly sexually charged. Man is more concerned about really self than the next person. Yes, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, but you're still my enemy. And once we conquer our mutual enemy, then we'll get back to fighting. I just want you to think about it. I'm not going to give out a whole bunch of answers, if any answer today. I'm just trying to sit back and think about what's really going on out here. What's wrong? What's wrong when a guy pulls into a driveway by accident, which all of us have done? You don't miss the address, and instead of trying to do a U-turn, you pull into the driveway, do it like a 3-point turn, and somebody comes out and shoots you. Somebody comes out and actually shoots you. All the cars look the same. They're not distinct and unique anymore. There's a few still left, but they all look the same, especially, your SUVs, your modern day, just average everyday SUV, you know. And I've done it. You probably done it. Parked in the same area, and let's say your car is 2 cars down, and you went to try to open with your clicker the car you think is yours because you're on the side of it or on the back of it. You're not looking at the license plate, and you think something's wrong, and you go pull it on the handle, and you figure out, oh, this is not my car. Have you ever been like a Quick Trip and came back out, and there was a car that looked like your car, and you just went to the opposite side as the passenger and opened the door, and there is somebody else sitting in the car that you don't even know. But now that's dangerous. You better realize, you better look at your plates because you might get shot. What's wrong? Sweet 16 birthday party turns into a massacre. What's really wrong? I think there's somewhere in the scripture that says men prefer darkness rather than light because their deeds are evil. It talks about the heart of man being deceitful, wicked, desperate. It talks about it's not what goes into a man that defiles them, but all the things that come out of his depraved heart. Can man do good? In his natural state, without God, without the true God, can man do good? Even with the true God on the scene, you have a choice. We've canceled God in America. And the religious crowd is trying to capitalize on that. Think about this. Every time there's something goes wrong, somebody else capitalizes on it. And I'm not a hater. I'm a believer in capitalism, but it's amazing to me how the religious community will swoop down and make money, tons of money off hurting people. Tons of money. Tons of money. There was money made in that revival at that school. Somebody made some money. Just in the coverage of it. The news stations that are secular made money off of this. There's always an opportunity for money to be made. You just have to be the genius to figure it out. Somebody's pain can make you rich. There's these attorneys, and you know their name. No matter what happens, tragedy happens, they're there. These shootings that are done by law enforcement on African Americans, they're there. The same ones over and over and over again, because guess what? They get the money. And then the it's kind of interesting, and I feel for the parents, but there's always this statement when the big lawsuit is filed for billions and millions of dollars that is really not about the money. It's about to hold them accountable. Well, let me ask you this. These organizations, the civil organizations that are funded by taxpayers, have very large insurance policies to take care of stuff like this. Have you ever known a payout to change the hearts, and the minds, and the culture of a company? Look at this big slander libel suit that was settled out of court with Fox. $750 some million. Some say it was 800 and something, but 700. Okay, the majority of people in the world will not make that in a lifetime, and they have the money to pay that out, even if it's over time. You mean you have an insurance policy to protect you to the point that if you're in a civil suit, that they could pay that kind of money out, and they're still facing another lawsuit? Do you really believe it's going to change the culture? And all the experts say it doesn't change the culture. It just makes them be careful in what they say and how they say it. Now on, if you a YouTuber and you like to listen to stuff on YouTube, the word now is allegedly, 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 and people thought that that covered you. But if it's still wrong and you keep saying it without investigating it, you could be sued. Cardi B won a big lawsuit against Tasha K because we just can't keep saying stuff about people just because it's our opinion. We just can't keep doing that. We can't sit here and make up stuff. And now you have, what's the problem? AI. But see, you focus on all the other stuff I'm talking about, but you're missing the tiger, the lion, and the bear. AI. Have you been paying attention to that while you're looking at all this other stuff I talked about? Have you been paying attention to that? Who's screwing who messing with who not messing with who not paying child support? Have you been paying attention to what's going on with AI? The genie is out the bottle and you can't put it back. They don't know what it will do. And you can Google it for yourself and go on YouTube for yourself, and you can listen to a dramatization of the possibility of AI right now, where you have Joe Rogan, President Trump, Joe Biden, a bunch of other people talking to each other like they're on the Joe Rogan show, and you can't tell the difference between them and the AI. Not just the voice, but the image. The image is talking, and it's inflecting, and it's making facial expressions. So you don't know who. If you didn't know, you could put that out. If they didn't tell you, you could put that out, and you could say, look at them having a conversation. Look what they're saying, and it's not them. So how are you going to know the difference? Somebody could capture my voice and decide to make a AI video with my images that are out there, my voice that is out there, and I have to go now defend it that that's not me. Because in America, you're guilty till proven innocent, no matter what they say, unless you got money. What if you have a candidate that decides to stay home and they create a whole AI campaign and project this campaign as if they're traveling all over the country, having town hall meetings and all this with an AI audience, and nobody in that town will can say, and a few people that's in that town that's part of whichever party, they get together and they say, hey, we're going to say we want to have the AI official that's running for candidate here. We'll create the town hall, and you guys come to take the images of the hall and stuff, and create a whole town hall meeting, and everything in it is artificial intelligence, and it's all spun to make that person look good, and you just fall for it. You've already been tested with that. You just don't know. The proving ground has been proven that AI plus social media will control your mind. People don't think anymore. People don't think anymore. They get information off the internet and they think that it is true. And there's so much false information on the internet, it's not even funny. It's not even funny. This person told me, and I'll show you how silly people are. This person, what's the problem? This person told me during this, right before the Super Bowl is rigged. I mean, they said it with such ferocity. The Super Bowl is rigged. The Super Bowl is rigged. And I'm not going to say what plant they work for. And that's a whole nother story. But they told me it's in the internet, la 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 la. This is the Super Bowl, this is the spread, and it's rigged. And I said, slow down, let me get this straight. One of the largest betting games in the world, the YouTuber, the informationers, the social media people have come out to say, this is the spread. Here's a recording of them talking, and this is what's gonna happen on Super Bowl. And they were like, yeah, yeah, yeah. I was like, what is your primary source for this? Meaning that I'm Walking Truth Radio Network. I'm not a primary source for anything other than me, right? You know what I'm saying? And with AI, might not even be that. You don't even know if you listen to AI voice right now. Think about it. But they was loud and proud about it. And I say, think about this again. Slow down. You just said it's rigged and billions of dollars are being bet. Do you know what that would do to the National Football League, to players, to the I said, do you know how many lawsuits can come? Do you know what you're saying? That's racketeering, a criminal enterprise that should be investigated right away if it's even half true. That people are going this down to pay big money, enjoy themselves to see something that's not real. Competition is not real. And they gave the point spread. And guess what? Forget the point spread. The team that was supposed to win through this information that was going around the internet didn't win. Didn't win. Did not win. And I asked them, of course, with all the veracity that I can muster, what happened? And like usual, with people who don't really investigate things, that are ignorant, just going through YouTube and listening to stuff, not understanding that the algorithm gives them more of the junk they want to see, they had the nerve to say they didn't know. I said, go back to your sources. The same sources that told you this, go back to them and go into their comment section and ask them what happened. Then they try to cover up tomorrow. Well, they learned the jig was up and who is they decided to go ahead and play the game. What? See, the problem is we have been lulled into a state of ignorance. That's what the problem is. We are so ignorant to really what's going on in this world. When you have people, people say they hate people just because I've heard, I've been in conversations where I hate this person because they're Democrat. I hate this person because they're Republican. I hate this person because they're a black Republican. I hate this person because they're a white Democrat. Or hate, 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 hate. Not understanding the rich are still getting rich, and they ain't gonna never pay you poor people nothing. Don't let the smoke and mirrors of these parties fighting, so-called fighting, confuse you. It's two parties of rich folk with all of America in the middle. And as long as they keep you fighting, you'll never see what they're doing. Have you ever looked at some of these bills that's passed? Have you ever ordered it yourself and seen the bills that's passed? With the Freedom of Information Act, I ordered a bill that was passed. It was like 900 and some pages. Who's going to read 900 pages? You might have what you see is what they're arguing for on the top end, but the devil's in the details of getting these congressmen to vote for their interests and slide it in there. They used to call it pork. That's why they say they want a clean debt ceiling raised without any stipulations. So they want these things raised without what they normally do with everything else. Slide other millions and billions of dollars worth of stuff in. And then when you hear stuff, we're sending billions of dollars for this and $1 billion of that. Do you know 90% over 90% of it, when you send it to these countries that are lawless and really don't have any accountability, goes into the hands of the people that are in charge? Why are we trying to propagate all over the world our form of democracy or our form of legislation, telling other countries what to do, trying to threaten them? And now what is happening? What's really wrong? Pay attention. See, you're not paying attention. Other countries are banding together one at a time, and they're dumping the dollar. They're dumping the dollar. They're banding together and saying, no longer are we going to be held to America. Whoever thought China and Russia would become friends like they are? Whoever thought the Shiite and the Sunni would become allies with each other? You see what I'm saying? Who'd have thought there'd be countries in South America to which we've dumped millions into? It's almost in wherever we go to so-called try to help, eventually they want their own autonomy. And the minute they want their own autonomy, we decide that we want to destroy them. We want to go to war with them. But it's too late. Who was Osama bin Laden trained by? We killed a dictator, and he didn't have weapons of mass destruction, and they got away with it. And all the people that were part of that back then are writing it was about the oil. And when you hear them talk about oil, you research it yourself. Ask your Google, what's the number one producer of oil in the world? And it's us. And what they tell you is the oil companies are making too much money. Well, think about this. Exxon, Shell, Mobil, and all these other subsidiaries, they do not set the oil price. The oil is traded on the open market. I'm going to say it again. The oil is traded on the open market. So when there's they decide, and OPEC being the largest oil conglomerate that controls a lot of the oil, because they are working together as a unit, and they basically set what they say ends up setting the price, whether they increase production or they reduce production. But if you told them that you're going to get rid of the number one thing that they export to make money by going all electric, why wouldn't they cut supply? So they can make all the money they can right now. You've threatened their livelihood. You told the Saudi prince that you're going to make him a pariah. Oh, who's really the pariah now? See, things happen in real time to have an impact down the line. And they call it chronos time. It has kairos implications. They change things, and the world is being reset right now. Alliances are being reset right now, and we're being surrounded one country at a time. Western Europe is sending mixed messages. We're in Ukraine. And let me tell you something. Don't think there's not somebody getting rich in America off of the war machine. America gets rich off of war. What do you think all these tanks and all that stuff run off of? Some kind of oil-based fuel. Even if we went all electric, let's say that's possible. Even if we went all electric, research that. Do you know how much more chips we need to do that? Do you know the parts that we need from China to do that? Do you know that we've been sold out to China for so long that we barely produce anything in the United States? Do you know most of the cobalt that's needed to make chips and transistors and all the stuff that's needed is from Africa? And look at the price of cobalt. It was as high as $71,000 an ounce. And guess who's mining it in Africa? The Chinese, with child labor, slave labor. And America's not talking about that. Even the Muslims don't talk about the Muslims in China that are being used for labor. Because see, as long as it's not here, we really don't care. We say we do, but we don't. And now the African nations are becoming stronger, and they're becoming more boisterous, and they're deciding what they want in their country. They don't want America. They see what's going on in America. We're free. We're free to kill. We're free to destroy. We're free to steal. We're free. We eliminated all standards of any kind, educational standards, moral standards, because it's too stressful. We tell everybody you're great and you're important and you're good, and you could be rotten. There's no reason to seek to be excellent because the goal is to all be mediocre. The guy the person went to school and done all they can do and struggled and achieved, and is sitting next to a person who did not do that, and they should get paid the same. There's a place that I know where there's some people making some really, really what you would call nice money. And you know what they spend their money on? Warm-up suits, tennis shoes, or watches, and other things. That's that group at this place factory. And then there's another group at the factory where they spend their money on land. They spend their money on appreciable items. Two groups working in the same job, making the same money. One group is investing in their future. The other group is investing in their now. And they're coming to work like a fashion show at a high school. And the other group is coming to the same job with the same things happening, oil and everything, in Dickies and work shirts and steel toe shoes. And guess which group, when they retire, no, on the average, has more assets? The group who spends their money on trending things, where it could be said, hey, you got the latest pair of tennis shoes. Them fly. Or the guy who goes out and buys 10 acres at a time, 10 acres at a time, 10 acres at a time. And he works there for 30 years. And the acres he's bought has appreciated. Think about it. Or go buy some apartment buildings or houses, or invest in the stock market even the more beyond the pension. Or the person who spends all of their bonuses, all of their profit sharing on the trends of today that are going tomorrow. So money, it's the attitude of America. We're free. We're free to do anything, and we're free to destroy ourselves. And guess what? It's happening right before your eyes. You know it. You can pretend like you don't know it. You can think it's about throwing money at it, and you cannot legislate morality, love, commitment, accountability, and responsibility. You cannot make laws that do so. Look at it now. Going to Congress is it's not about serving the people of your district. It's a leg up. Go back and look at the pictures of your freshman congressmen when they were running for office out of their cities. And 2 years later, look at them now. They look like the people back then, and now they look like movie stars. And they know if they can just hang in there and continue to get you to vote for them, give you pennies while they make thousands, promise this and that in their neighborhood. You know, I've always asked this question. I've been here on this earth 60 years now. No matter who's in office, nothing really changes. More money's there, more shootings will go up. It's like whatever there's more of government interference, there's more of the thing that you're trying to get rid of. It's dangerous to go out and just sit out and have lunch. It used to be go out and have lunch in the dark, like the street cafes. That's dangerous now. Very dangerous. But it's even dangerous to do it in the daytime. And I will admit, more people go out and nothing happens to them. But can't you see the uptick? I mean, it was just in Chicago, this wilding out teen thing descending upon the tourist section downtown Chicago and just went crazy. And how are they able to mobilize social media? And they're trying to track down who did this. But what if somebody created an AI who did this? So you got to remember, you can create anything with AI. So you can create these campaigns for mass gatherings for admission to do something, and it's AI. What if AI now remember, it's called artificial intelligence, meaning it was not born, it was created. And if you ask your Google search or the search engine, are you AI, and it says yes, and its job is to learn. What if AI decides that because of the way we destroy ourselves, that that we're going to get rid of humans, that humans serve no purpose. If we could just find a way to where they can't unplug us. I'll tell you a good movie to go see that's a sci-fi, but if you notice, everything that's on sci-fi out of somebody's imagination comes true because all they got to do is figure out how to put it together. Go back and look at all the sci-fi movies that are out there. I, Robot, Matrix, all of this, where the artificial intelligence begins to think. And what if artificial intelligence decides that they're watching humans because they can gather all the information in a blink of an eye and come to a calculation that if the humans keep doing what they're doing, they're going to destroy everything, including them. So what they need to do is find a way to work and find an energy source that will keep them going. That involves humans, but humans don't know it. That would be the Matrix. That humans are being used for their energy source and then put in like a coma state and believe they're living a life that they're not living, and you can make them live any life. And they still decay and expire, but you produce so many of this, you have a field of batteries that of human origin. See, these are the things that we need to be concerned about. You say, oh, he crazy. Okay. I remember one time when we used to watch the original Star Trek and the communicator. What did that turn into? The flip phone. Most of the scenes of Star Trek were scenes where they were on the bridge and they could see out in space. And what were they looking at? A gigantic big screen television. That's come to pass. And what did they eat? They dialed something in and created what they wanted to eat and the taste they wanted. Depending on what planet you're from, you could dial in whatever you want based upon your taste from your planet, and it will come down in this. It'll be made artificially, and it will taste the same. Well, they just figured out a way to make beef without a cow, chicken without a cow, meat without slaughtering the animal, and it's all artificial. And all you need is the DNA, and you just start replicating that, and you can make it. Think about it. You can make artificial, not the stuff we have now. No, I'm talking about truly beef, but it's somehow made in the laboratory, and you didn't have to slaughter an animal. And it comes out a steak already. And all you do is season it with your artificial seasonings and stuff like that, and you package it, and there you go. There you go. Things are happening at such a fast rate. And the lion, the bear, and the tiger is artificial intelligence. The head of Google testified in Congress that he doesn't know what it's going to do. Elon Musk said we need to put a pause on this so we can figure this out just a little bit more because it's already leaped beyond what they expected. ChatGPT-4 is a powerful tool that's going to be used to do some great good, most likely. But it's going to be able to do great evil too in the wrong hands. Think about it. You can create a panic with a click of a mouse. And they might not be able to figure out who did it. What's wrong with America? What's wrong with the world? There's no sacrificial love. It's all about me. We grew up in a time where kids could play in the front yard and not have to worry about getting taken, shot, molested. We grew up in a time where you could go and trick or treat and come back with bags of candy. And there was the normal warnings. Your parents went through the candy and threw some away, but the majority of candy you got to keep because people were good, decent people. Yes, there's always been perverts. Yes, but it seems as if something kept them in check. And now, you know what trick or treat looks like? And it has nothing to do with Christians waking up or anything like that. You know what trick or treat looks like? In my neighborhood, which still is a good neighborhood, all the doors are dark. No kids out. Now we're at the point where there's no kids. We have kids in the neighborhood. No kids go trick or treating. You don't even have to turn your light off no more. It used to be the sign where if you weren't giving candy, you just turn your light off. You don't have to worry about that because nobody's giving candy anymore. It's too dangerous, too liable. Anything can happen. You know, We got to the point where we didn't want to say Merry Christmas. All we could say is Happy Holidays because that was not the politically correct thing to say. And now we've politically corrected ourselves right into a hole where there's no dissension, no expression, no pushback. Because if this group is popular right now and they're the loudest, they might not be the majority, but they're the loudest, and they're controlling the airwaves and they controlling the thought and they are woke in the moment, then you can't never challenge them because you may lose your job. The they mob, they say. Watch anybody who speaks like that. Make them identify who they are. And you'll find out in most conversations they can't. They got it from the mob of the media, the social media. Ordinary, unlearned, uneducated people are becoming social media giants overnight, and all they're producing is trash. But another man's trash, again, I get it, is another man's treasure. Who am I to say that we should restrict you from looking at what you want to look at? Look at everything you want to look at. But remember, there's going to be a cost to pay when you just fed junk. Remember those saying, junk in, junk out? What comes into your eye gate, your ear gate, goes into your mind and begins to fester and filter, and that's all you spit out. And think about this. You may be programmed right now to only spit out what your algorithm tells you. The first thing you do is turn on your phone and start surfing and looking, and you get all frustrated, and you go from YouTube to Facebook to TikTok, and you back and forth, and Instagram and Twitter, and you just bang, 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 and you stop having social relationships with normal people. And you wonder why you all stressed out and ready to jump out of a plane and delete yourself. Because humans need socialization, not with an electronic, but with each other. I have a relative who's become so engrossed in this Trump, TikTok, Biden, woke. They barely leave the house. They can't sit and have dinner with their children without picking up their phone and looking at their phone. It's like they go through like withdrawals. 5 minutes in, you sit there. They sit there for a minute. They'll bring the water. They bring the bread, and that person get the shaking almost. Let me check my messages. You just got here. You're with the people you love. You can't do nothing if you even found out about something. And they sit there and scroll. Instead of having conversation, they're scrolling and trying to have a conversation with the phone under the table. Have you seen that? So they hold the phone on the table and they pretend like they're paying attention to you. They've mastered that. And they're not paying attention to you. They're paying more attention on the phone. And then all of a sudden, when something catches their eye, they'll be like, oh, man. You're like, what's wrong? And you think it's something you said. No, it's something they read over their phone. And they got to respond to it. It's okay. You can turn your phone off. I give you permission by the power invested in me to turn your phone off and know that the world will continue okay without you. You're not missing nothing because you're not looking at nothing but trash and propaganda anyway. Trust me, it'll be there when you turn it back on. And just think about it. You can binge watch it then. Turn your phone off. Get out into the what's left of this world that's beautiful and enjoy yourself with your family and your friends. Maybe that's what's wrong. We have become so hooked to the AI devices that we forgot we are human beings and we are meant to commune with one another and learn of another and love one another and participate in what we call society. Disagreeing, agreeing, without killing, without throwing away, without canceling, without saying you deserve not to have a livelihood because I disagree with you. Maybe we do need to sit down and rein this in. But what I've learned, you can't put the genie back. You guys know I'm Pastor J. I believe the Bible is true. The Bible says it's going to get worse. And people like me who are thinkers, we're very rare now. The Bible tells us we question all things. Hold on to what is good. Discard what is bad. Mark and avoid those who are teaching falsely. I'm not scared of anything. But man, good old days of growing up, riding bikes. You don't see that no more. Your parents would tell you couldn't go outside, and that was the punishment. Now your parents tell you to go outside, and that's the punishment. Our children are overweight, oversexed. Boys are looking like girls now. Girls are looking like boys now. And they're not choosing that. Society is choosing that for them. And then when they get out into the real world, and you've told them they're okay and they're great and they're awesome and they really haven't achieved anything, and they'll be welfaring all of their life, meaning that they now 24, 25, 26 years old, and their parents have to keep welfaring and tell them you're great, you're awesome. And then the minute that they get out into the real world and they're rejected and they can't handle it because nobody's ever rejected them for the smallest of things. You've never taught them how to handle conflict. You never taught them how to handle the word no. Then they decide the institution that told them no, the person that told them no, they need to be deleted because that can't be them. Sons who don't know to take out trash, sons who don't know how to cut grass, sons who never rake leaves, sons who've never ever suffered. And you wonder why, when they're told no for the first time, and you tell them no, they may come after you. And their sons and daughters, they may come after you because you made it so easy for them, because you struggled and you want them to struggle. But don't you know the struggle made you strong? Don't you know that when you endure something, it makes you stronger? Just like lifting weights, you pay all the money to go to gym for resistance training. Think about what I'm saying, resistance training, so that they could build that muscle up. But all you've done is made it soft for them. You made it soft for them. So I'm back, and I'll start doing encouraging words. And of course, I'm still putting out the teaching on the Walk of Truth Radio Network. Please like, subscribe, and share. This is a long rant. Just take your time, listen to it. Please comment. Agree, disagree. Say I'm crazy. It doesn't make a difference to me. I want dialogue. I want opposition. I want pushback. I don't do stuff just for people to agree with me. I want people to start thinking again with their whole mind and their whole heart. It doesn't make a difference what religious affiliation you are. You should be able to think. Think for yourself. Don't think with the mob. Think for yourself. Think for yourself. Are you being manipulated by an entity that you can't even see? Are you being manipulated by the systems of social media? You think you're thinking independent, but you're not. You think you're up on one because you're gathering all this information and it all agrees with you. Could that be by design? Kids aren't even physically coordinated. We would ride bikes. We didn't have helmets and with the knee pads and all that. You learn by falling. You learn to stay balanced by falling sometime. Yes, there was injury. There still is injury, but there's more injury now than it was then. And they got all this protective stuff on. Men's feet are swift to shed blood. It's a book that says that. So this is Pastor J, Walk of Truth Radio Network. And I don't know if Walk in Truth Radio Network, since I have a lot of our Christian lessons and stuff on there, encouraging words, I'm thinking about starting a new station that we can really get down and talk about these things. And I think I will, along with my partner T. Drake. I think we're going to start something new. She's been trying to get me to go over there on wisdom. And like I say, me and her have such great discussions about what's going on. And wait till I tell the story about 6 young men in a recording studio, and they get a chance to freestyle rap. And guess what they talked about? Let's see if you can figure it out. If you go into the comments and guess what, 6 young men, probably ages from 13 to 16, go to a recording studio. Never been in one. Learn, get exposed to the engineering side. And the engineer says, I'm going to give you a beat and I want you to go in there and freestyle and rap. What do you think these young men rapped about? And I'm going to give you one caveat. There are the group that brought them to the studio is a great group called 100 Black Men, exposing these children to education and all that stuff. Guess what they rapped about? Please comment, subscribe, share. Walk Truth Radio Network, where you can be found on every major podcast platform. If you're looking to listen to this on the podcast, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. You can go to my Instagram page, Dr. James Sutton II, Walking Truth. Again, I can be found everywhere that you can be found. If you want to get in touch with me, don't send me an instant message. I get too many of those. If you really want to get in touch with me, take the time to email me at witmin@yahoo.com. Then you email me there, WITM as in Mary, IN as in Nancy, at yahoo.com, all lowercase. And let's have a conversation. I'd love to have you on the show. Love to talk to you. Love to have a real panel where you're talking about real things versus who's screwing who's spitting on who fighting who. Or is it whom? Don't delete me. This is Pastor Jay. I always want you to be encouraged, blessed, and peace. And always remember to do this. Walk in the truth of the Lord. Or simply, you know what, this purpose of this show, just do better. Just do better to understand what's really going on. Peace.